You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 37. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Before we bring on today's guest, we got something to talk about, good people. We back for another edition of Support You on Sunday. Want to shout out to Plug X. It's ran and operated by my brothers from different mothers, Tony Sanders, Rodney White, and Chris Sankey. You can check them out at theplugx.com. That's ThePlugGX.com. Man, let me tell you something about that business they got going on over there. They're selling authentic sneakers, real authentic shoes, man. I know it's a lot of less than authentic things out there, but these brothers, man, they're doing some great things, man. They out there, they're doing expos, and they got some great things coming down the pipeline. Any of your new releases on J's and Nikes, if they don't have it on hand, they can get their hands on it. Please check them out, man. My brothers from different mothers. I actually had Tony Sanders on episode 2, had Chris Sankey on episode 4. Gonna have my boy Rodney White on sooner or later. Definitely gonna happen. Make it happen. Make sure y'all go support theplugx.com. My brothers have done great things in the community, and they will continue to do great things in the community. So head on over, support. Let them know the Gumptown Podcast sent you. All right? That's all we got to talk about, good people. On with today's show. Today's guest, he is the founder and owner of Robinson Handy and Tech Services. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure you all will be inspired by his story. Let's give a warm Gumptown round of applause for Kenny Robinson. Kenny, how's it going, man?
All is good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Glad to hear that. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yes, sir. Of course, we're here to talk about Robinson Handy and Tech Services. But before we go there, let's get to know the man behind the brand. What's your story?
All right. My name is Kenny Robinson. I'm a native of Birmingham, Alabama. I've been living in Montgomery since 2015. I have a business degree from the University of Alabama, but I work primarily in the technology space. I've done programming, I've done software support, you name it. I've probably touched something on it as it relates to IT. I eventually, I got here to Montgomery, bought a house, and I just started fixing, stuff around my house, and I started sharing it with people, and it was like, oh, you can do that? Okay. And then, it just kept going. And so, what you see now is basically all those years, all those hobbies that have now manifested into who I am today.
Okay. Good stuff, man. Great story. So let's talk more about Robinson Handy and Tech Services. What products and services do you offer?
Offer a variety of services, too many to list here because we'll be here all day. But the main services or the most popular services are like putting furniture together. So furniture assembly, installing or mounting TVs on the wall, fixing like minor Wi-Fi or like computer issues. You name it, I've probably done something related to it or can help you out with it.
Okay, sounds good. And you been coming from an IT background, so I work in IT as well. So just the whole notion of troubleshooting and being able to identify problems and fix things. So that's sounds like you've been using your IT skills and they've been transferable for your business.
Yes, definitely has. What I tell people is like, although I do IT and I do handyman work, that really my skill set or just the way I work is I solve problems. There are some problems that are beyond my scope, but for the most part, I solve problems. You have one, I can probably fix it.
Yes, sir. And that's really what it comes down to. Those who make the big bucks, man, they solve the most problems, the most complex problems. So that's definitely a good mantra, a good mindset to have. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to cover three things. I like to talk about the aha moment, action, and audacity. So it sounds like you had your aha moment just from sharing your videos in terms of people start seeing what you would do, see what you were doing. So is there any more you want to add to like what sparked the idea to turn your love for troubleshooting and solving problems into a business?
It came like, so having been around other entrepreneurial, or people with entrepreneurial mindsets,
Mhm.
it kind of, you learn the various aspects of a business. You learn like the tax code, and like, hey, you can make money doing this, but then you can go take it a step further and you can learn the tax code, and if you learn the tax code quite right, you can make even more money and pay less in taxes.
Mhm.
And so it's like there's all these other benefits behind just being a business owner. And I think a lot of that is not talked about like as you go through school. And so it's like, okay, now that I know this, it's like, how do I tap into that? And that's where I started the business, just from that aspect. And then I'll also add in my uncle, went back when I was like college searching, if you will.
Mhm.
We went on these college tours, and he was like, find you a major that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And the thing is, with that, in that major should be a hobby of yours that you currently have. And so that way, when you go to work, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're having fun. And not only are you having fun, but then you're getting paid to have fun. And so
Mhm.
it's like, okay, well, if I can do that. And so for me, the work that I do now is it's not work, it's fun. Like I enjoy putting stuff together, and I
Yes,
enjoy
sir.
building things and working with my hands and stuff like that. So it's never work. It's always find the fun in it. And if you have a business, it makes it even better.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So how long after, let's talk about action. How long after coming up with the idea to actually go in business for yourself, how long did it take you to take action in chores of getting a name and a LLC and a logo? How long did that take?
So once I made the decision to actually do the business, took a few months. But from starting the YouTube channel, which I think I started around 2017, to actually from starting the YouTube channel, because that was really the first part of things. Once I posted on social media and kind of like, okay, people like this type of stuff. How can I take it a step further? So then it was like, go to YouTube. So started the YouTube channel, had that going in 2017, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And then I kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. And in 2020, so I signed up for a third party platform that basically they give you jobs that they've sourced and you do the work, where you do furniture assembly. I've even put together a greenhouse, ceiling, mounted TVs, installed ceiling fans, that type of work.
Mhm.
And so it started in January, the pandemic hit. And it's like, okay. Well, I was like, well, maybe business will slow down. But it was actually the opposite. And so that platform that I was using, not only were they just getting so many requests, but then they were like, we're going to start paying bonuses because we're getting so many requests, and those requests were not getting filled in what they consider a timely manner. And so it's like, okay. And throughout pretty much all of 2020 was just making the basic base rate on top of the bonuses. And so, you have a job, I'm going to go hang a ceiling fan, and it's like I'm getting paid 3 to 4 times the normal amount. It's like, why would you not continue to do that? And so then I was like, okay, if I can keep doing this, then I probably could turn it into a business. So I kept doing it. And at the same time, I'm still running the YouTube channel, but now it's like, okay, I have this work that I'm doing for other people and not just the work that I'm doing at my house. And I can make content for the YouTube channel with the work that I'm doing for other people. And so now I realized at that point, it was like, okay, I have this content funnel. And if you are familiar with like social media and marketing strategies and stuff like that, a lot of times they talk about content funnels. So it's like, so I got this thing that basically this machine that is now feeding itself based off the work that I'm doing. And so I was like, all right, 2021, started the business, went, filed all the paperwork, and kept doing the same thing, kept doing the same thing. money still coming in, and now things are getting to the point where the phone is actually just ringing. It's like, hey, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that, and it's like, whoa, I can't handle all this. But you learn how. One of the things about being in business, you learn how to adapt, and so I've had to adapt, and here we are, 2022, still doing it, YouTubing and social media posting and everything.
Man, that's great, man. And pretty much I like how you just continue to transition and adapt as you went along. And even it didn't take you very long from the time you came up with the idea to actually get started. And just to be overly booked, that's a great problem to have, man. I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. It's a great problem. And, sometimes people are like, I can't wait that long. And it's like, I wish I could do things differently, but this is where I'm at. And then, because of run a business, like, well, maybe that's another problem I need to go and figure out how to address. Like, how can I get more bookings done sooner? So business is always about evolving. And again, going back to my being basically a good at problem solving, it's like, hey, another problem to solve.
Yes, sir. Powerful, powerful. So you had your idea and you put
Mhm.
action behind it. But in between action and idea, idea and action, I believe there's a bridge called audacity. It takes courage and audacity to step out there on your own. Who or what gave you the courage, the audacity to step out there and start your own business?
For me, the who would be friends, family, and followers.
Mhm.
And the reason I include the followers too is because all of those people are what there was a quote that I saw one time before, and it said something along the lines of like, people, when it comes to social media, people are not always liking or commenting on your posts, but they're always watching.
Mhm.
And so because of that, I realized it's like, okay, I'm gonna post this stuff. And some people are like, you post too much. But it's like, well, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you're interested in it, hey, you're gonna pay attention to it. And what I've learned is like, those people that don't necessarily always like or comment, they be watching. And here recently, those same people are now like, hey, I got this problem at my house. Can you come help me out? All right, I got you. And so that's where the motivation behind starting the business, Robinson Handy and Technology Services came from. It's like, people have these problems. Like, if you're going to live, whether you live in a house or an apartment, you're going to have a problem that needs to be fixed at some point. This outlet's not working. I need a new TV, or something's wrong with this TV. Whatever the case may be, you're going to need that. If I can fix, like, if I have the same problem and I post about me having the same problem, chances are you're going to see what I've posted and try to go fix it based off of what I've done in to fix my same problem. And so from that, those are that's the people that gave me the audacity to just, hey, I see what he's doing, I can do that too.
Mhm. Wow, man, that's powerful. You just said something else that was powerful. People are always watching, whether they liking, subscribing. People
Right.
are always watching. So hats off to you that you didn't stop posting content, because you could have easily got caught up in the whole, I don't have a lot of likes, I don't have a lot of followers. And that's one of the things that I promised to myself, I'm not gonna watch the scoreboard in terms of how many people liking it, how many people following, because people are watching. And eventually, it'll take off to where it's supposed to go.
I agree, definitely agree.
Yes, sir. So you've done great things with Robinson Tech Services, Handy and Tech Services, and I know you're going to continue to do great things, which leads me to my next point, vision. What are your short-term and long-term goals for the business?
The short-term goals, try to get more of a greater presence on YouTube. I have some followers, they actually provide feedback on like some of the content that's there. It's like, hey, can you do this with this project? It's like, okay. So trying to incorporate that into the existing content stream, because what I realized is like, sometimes the work that you do does not necessarily address a specific problem that someone has. However, because you're kind of on that same path with what you're doing, for instance, I have a video on the YouTube that I had a bookcase that I bought years ago from a retailer, and the backing on the bookcase was made out of cardboard. And so what I did was I got rid of the cardboard because after when you transition, you move furniture around and stuff like that nature. I was like, all right, this cardboard is tearing up. I need something else. Went to the store, bought a piece of plywood, put it on the back of the bookcase. That video has several thousand views now. Granted, it's only been up 4 or 5 years, but there's people that don't realize, hey, I can just go get plywood and stick it on the back of there and it does the same thing. Yeah, it provides strength. And then to all honesty, it provides even greater strength than that cardboard that it comes with. And so I say that to say that, okay, you may not have the same size bookcase, but the fact that the concept is still there and that I can go get a smaller bookcase and do the same thing. And that may actually relate better to what you have that you're working on versus the larger project that I may have. So trying to, acknowledge those individual requests as additional content. And then the long term would be to roll out some online courses. Uh, you know, owning a house, my dad told me, he was like, if you have a house, there's either something that always needs to be fixed or there's something you always want to change. And to be honest, those words have never been truer. And so what I realized though is like a lot of this stuff you can actually do yourself. And so what I want to be able to look into doing and eventually do is to roll out some like homeowner maintenance courses, online courses that kind of gives you a little bit more detailed on like these various things like air conditioning, like how does it work? Is really changing the air filter that difficult? No, it's not. But here's why it's important. Uh, One thing that really scares a lot of people is electricity. And like I've had people, they were like, I was going to change that outlet because it doesn't hold any, it doesn't hold the cord in, but I was scared because it's electrical. And it's like, okay, well, I can do it, but I'm gonna have to charge you an arm and a leg to do it, unfortunately.
Right.
And they're okay with that. But it's kind of like those type of things. I could create an online course that says this is how you do that and not hurt yourself in the process. And I've done some YouTube videos where I kind of do electrical work, but this would probably be a more specialized course that talks about that. And then also because of the fact I do technology, I'm actually, I also do programming, doing some programming online courses as well, and just the other various areas of IT, teaching those to the people. Because what I've seen is there are a lot of people that have not done IT or are working in a different career field, and now they want to get into IT. And it's like, well, you're trying to jump, some people that jump in a creek, some people that are trying to jump a river. And so through online courses, I want to be able to help those people actually get across so that they can actually be, profitable in IT.
Man, that's some good stuff, man. Both short and long-term goals, good stuff, and definitely have no doubt that you'll make all those goals come to fruition. So let's get to the $1 million question. So I started this platform because I wanted to highlight the greatness coming out of Montgomery, whether you live here, whether you're from here. And I know you were saying you're from Birmingham and you've been here since 2015. So I just want to ask you, what's been the most impactful thing you've learned since you've been in the city that you've been able to use throughout your entrepreneurial journey?
It has been, I will say it's not just one thing, but there are several things.
Okay.
Part of it is networking. Montgomery is big enough that you don't see everybody, but when you do go out, you see the same people in the same venues. Mm-hmm. And so being able to network with people, especially I know for me, like I do a lot of networking with people in tech. So I see a lot of the same faces, like when you go down to the lab on Dexter and be involved with like Tech MGM. So networking would be one thing. Second, I would say is you don't have to go to Atlanta, Birmingham, those big cities to be able to start something. Like you can start where you're at. And as long as you're flexible and able to pivot, to within reason, because I'm not saying just pivot just for the sake of pivoting, but being able to pivot to meet the demands that come your way where you start does not necessarily matter. Like, I'm here in Montgomery, started everything in Montgomery, and people like, you're in Montgomery? It's like, yeah, it's like, it's nothing to do there. And that people were telling me that before I got here. And I'm like, okay. And what I realized is their definition of there's nothing to do here was based off of 20, 30 years ago, when I was told things were drastically different than what they are now. And so for me, it's like, okay, if I can find something to do, and if I can't find something to do, I can make something up for myself to do. And part of that making something up is running a business for myself that allows me to be able to share what I have, my gifts, my talents, and to be able to help people at the same time.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I like everything you just said is spot on, because Montgomery is one of those cities you have to have initiative, and you had that. So that's why you've been able to make it in business and continue to thrive. And a lot of people do say that, man, it's nothing to do with Montgomery and nothing to do. It's based on entertainment, partying. It's not it's not one of those glamour. Montgomery it's not a glamorous city like Atlanta. And I've been here my whole life, so I'm already aware of that. But in terms of just, like you said, starting where you are with what you have and being able to make it happen, and you figured out you had that initiative, man. So hats off to you for having that initiative. And that's really what it's all about, to make it in a city like Montgomery. So how can the people connect with you, Kenny? What are your social media handles, Facebook and IG?
All right. So for the personal, Kenny Robinson, Instagram and Twitter, and my personal blog, thealmostengineer.com. For the business, Robinson Handy and Technology Services. The Facebook page, Robinson Handy and Technology Services. Same thing for the YouTube channel. And on IG, RHT Services LLC. And the website, rhtservices.net. Plenty of resources for anybody that wants to learn stuff. More things will be coming out soon. I'm making some drastic website changes, like content wise. So hopefully it'll be a better resource for people that are having issues with various problems that they have at home and can be able to address them themselves. If not, you can always reach out. Also, the phone number, call or text 334-595-9690, and we'll be glad to help you out.
Yes, sir. And of course, I'll put all of the business handles and things of that nature in the description of the episode. Hey, Kenny, thanks again for the conversation, man. I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumtown Podcast. We gone, but before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.